traders, welcome back to another market update, and it's your boy. You're getting this Saturday morning, but I am doing this video on a Thursday, and this situation could look altogether different because non-farm payrolls is coming out tomorrow, right? So please be careful out there, guys. Today we're going to be looking at the Euro USD, and we're going to also be looking at the Pound Yen, where I have two trades on, both of them shorts. So let's take a look at the Euro USD. So as you probably know, I got a move out of this area here, this demand zone down here, which was just this area here, just to draw it in quickly. Okay, I've got a nice move up into this area here, and I also mentioned in the previous video that let's go to the H1 chart, that if the market comes out of here, which I place my stop just behind this area here, which would be an event break area, because if this didn't hold up price, then the market's going to break through. If it did hold up price, then my stops would be here, which it was, and then the market would continue to the upside and I'll still be in the trade, right? But it didn't, it broke through. Let me just make that an event break. So Now it's an event break, right? The market's gone through it. So what are we looking for now? We're looking for our trigger event, which would have been up here, which is got perfect structure. We've got a zone on top of a zone, like amazing structure. If the market had gone up there, it would have bounced back aggressively. That would have been my first thought. So let's go short. But the market did not come back into the trigger event area and continue to the downside. So what do you do when you miss a trigger event? You still look for the same structure on the way down. So I noticed that this supply zone here was currently holding up price. So this is kind of like an intraday trade for you, sort of like intraday traders, right? Maybe using the H1 in the 15-minute or the H1 in the 5-minute, right, to execute trades. So I like to use the H1 in the 5-minute and the H1 in the 15-minute personally. H1 and 15-minute I prefer because the higher the time frame, the larger the friction in a particular zone, and when that zone breaks, I just personally think the better that trigger event is going to be. But nonetheless, I had to go down to the 5-minute to see my defined structure. So let's just quickly zoom in here. Let me just move that way so it makes things easier. So first of all, we've got structure right here. Okay, so market comes back out, comes back into this area here, and we've got our structure here. Market dips in, we've got friction. Lovely. Market comes back out, comes back in again. We've got a break, but not too definitive enough for me. Market comes back out again and then breaks. Boom. That's a large enough break for me. I'll accept that, right? But this is the origin of the move, and we don't take origins of moves, as I have learned many times. But sometimes I have to take them, because I feel that, it's too good to miss out on. And yes, I will lose a trade taking an origin because there's nothing at the birth. But in this instance, we've got an origin zone here, but out here, we've really got no great structure, right? Not got no great structure at all. So when I noticed that, I was not really interested in setting any kind of limit orders. So then the market continued. Again, I found another area over here, right, that was holding up price. And now we got a really strong break. Does this break, give me more of a confident attitude towards this zone that broke this over this one? No, it's just really structure, right? It's just really structure that plays the part. There is really no definitive structure over here, and I don't like these long ass wicks. That being said, as we can see, if we move this, we have a fucking long ass wick, right? But nonetheless, the reason why I took this trade is I was like, all right, do you know what? You've offered me up one position, I didn't take it, but yet still, if we look at the structure over here and we defined it by using that area there and here, it held price, right? It held price. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to be an asshole and miss out on the trade just because, the structure is a little bit wobbly for me. So I defined this structure. Market came back into it around 6 o'clock. I usually go to the gym around 5. So when I opened up my phone, looked at this, set some limit orders, market came back into it, and boom, the market has moved out since. Now, guys, there's so much opportunity. If you've missed the trigger event, it's not about chasing, it's about waiting. Okay, it's about being patient and waiting to see if structure forms on the way down. And sometimes the momentum is so fast that even when structure forms, the market just doesn't come back to it, so you don't get an attempt. But this gave me two opportunities. Said no to the first one, okay, but the second one I was like, all right, I'm going to take it because it is holding up price, okay, on the H1 time frame, okay. So that's the reason why I got into this trade, and that's the reason why I chose this zone over this zone, okay. But actually, both zones, this zone would have worked out fine as well. All right, would have worked. In fact, if we really take a look at it, right, this structure here, engulfing structure, is way better than this. This is, I don't even know what this is. I don't even know what this is. But again, guys, it's discretionary, right? You get comfortable with what you're trading, you get comfortable with the event chain, you get comfortable with your perspective and your views and your biases. Once you're comfortable with that, you're happy and confident in taking your trades, win or lose. It's just part of the game, right? So currently, I think we're doing quite nicely in this Euro USD. And oh shit, what was that? Okay, let's just go out to the daily because I just don't know what I've just moved around there. Okay, cool. It's just that. All right, perfect. So now it has broken past this daily demand, which was down here, and we're now in this monthly area of demand. I've marked out this white line here because this looks like a hidden engulfing structure, and possibly the market could potentially turn. I mean, look, we've got a level test here when the market came back and then pushed up massively. But am I thinking that this is actually going to reverse the market here? Not necessarily, because number one, this is way out of our time frame, like 30-40 day time frame, right? And it's moving slowly and deeper into this. So what I'm expecting is either the market to push really deep into this zone, we'll get some sort of consolidation or retracement. And if we go back out to the weekly, this will close nicely. This is what I was really expecting. This is what I really wanted, was a weekly, for this to drop, for a weekly supply zone to form, for the market to come in really deep here, then push back to this weekly supply zone, and then push further to the downside to this area of monthly demand at, what are we at? 1 point, I don't know what that is. Anyway, to this lower area of monthly demand down here, right? And that would be spectacular, but nonetheless, we still have to be patient and wait and see, especially with the motherfucking news coming out tomorrow, which always turns shit upside down. Now, as I always say, the news usually makes things happen a lot quicker. It makes things happen that were going to happen anyway, just faster. So if the market's going to push down here, then the news will potentially make it push down here further, right? And then we'll get a bunch of sellers coming into the market, right? A bunch of people selling, and then the market would retrace probably next week and then take all those people out, right? But if we're patient, we know that it's just a retracement. Consolidations do happen, so there's no need to get emotional about it. It could potentially still go to the downside, right? But nonetheless, if the market decides to spin around based on fundamentals, then we're just going to have to be patient and do whatever. But I am going to be watching the news tomorrow, moving my stops accordingly, and making sure I am safe out there. So that is that for the Euro USD, guys. It's made such a, I mean, look at these moves. I mean, this is like perfection, right? Like boom, and bearish engulf, and boom, structure, boom, come in, structure. It's like this move was there could have been potentially 1, 2, 3 positions on this trade, and it would have been perfect. That's insane. Look at that. I love that structure. Absolutely love that. So let's take a look at the pound yen. Now this, guys, is altogether different, very unusual. I'm using decision points here that I'm finding in the markets to place this trade, because if we zoom out, right, there's not, like, this is in such a funny area, and I've been waiting to see something for ages on the pound yen that is even plausible, right? Because what we can see now is that, number one, We had, actually, let me go out to the monthly time frame. So if we look at this, let me just draw this in, because this is a monthly. I'm not too comfortable with monthlies in monthlies. Doesn't really make any sense to me. But we've got this monthly area of supply, and the market's come out of there and pushed down to the downside. It's gone really deep inside this monthly area of demand, and then if we go inside, what's nested inside there is this weekly area of demand, which the market hit and then bounced out aggressively, done 100 million pips, and has still not yet broken this area of weekly suppliers yet, right? It still hasn't broken this. So if it hasn't even gone and touched it or broken this, my assumption is that there's still potentially a move to the downside. Yes, we have this rally, base rally. Now, am I gonna be thinking about this to take this to the upside if there's a possibility for it? I'm going to wait for the price action to tell me, to be honest with you. But I've just got my target for here. First of all, I'm probably going to push it a little bit lower and then wait for price action to let me know what to do next. So let's actually go deeper into this pound yen trade. So what I thought at first is that potentially we could be having a reversal, right? So the market's come down and we've got, like really good structure here for a reversal. One, let's just copy that, and two, and then this would have been free for the reversal, right? But it just wasn't looking that way to me. And if I look at it, we've got, and it's really weird structure, because we've got a low, we've got a high, then we've got a lower low, and then we've got just a bit of a higher high. But this higher high totally reversed the market back to this kind of like reversal area here, right? And then we got this bearish move, and I thought, okay, this bearish engulfing candle took out this bullish engulfing structure, and I thought, okay, let me watch the market for when it goes into this again. But then it broke out, so I thought, okay, let me just use the high of this bullish engulfing structure as a decision point to see if, because the only reason why I'm doing this is because it's done it over here. I'm not making it up as I kind of am making it up as I go along, but I'm just watching what happened to previous structure, and I'm watching what the market's currently done, right? And it's just gone above structure and then pissed about for a bit and then made a move down. So I just decided to basically imitate what's happened before and play the event chain to give me proof of whether or not we could potentially have a move to the downside. So yet again, we do what we do. On this particular time, I didn't even start with the H1 chart, because obviously we're on the H1 chart, and look where the first area is for an event break. For me personally, I'm thinking if it reaches there, how far is that? It's not that bad, but it's still 85 pips away, right? So I immediately think, what was it, 15-minute chart? Nah, it was the 5-minute chart. So let's zoom in. Okay, so the market's gone and crossed this decision point, right? So here we've not really got nothing. The market pushed down in there. So what have we got here? We've got a bit of a bullish engulfing structure, but the reason why I determine this as structure is because it's holding up price. Market's gone in, bounced around a bit, popped back out, and then we finally get a break, and then we get a much stronger breakout of here as well, right? And then the market decides to push back into the zone on the 5-minute really deeply, and I think this is like it was a tiny, like, I think it's like a 10 pip stop loss over here. So what is it? Yeah, 10 pips. Currently risk reward ratio is 26-1, and I'm currently at 100 pips, so we're currently at 10-1 on this trade, right? Currently at 10-1. Now that's just, I mean, come on guys, like 10-1 on a trade, and it's like, I think it's just started, hopefully anyway, right? So we've got 26-1 to go on this trade. So potentially, if the news does what it does tomorrow, it could just push this exactly where I want it to go, and I'll be out of this trade. Well, not out of it, depending on how it reacts here. I mean, we could push down here, then the market just could produce a massive wick, because what's it going to do if the market decides to push down? That means all these retail sellers are going to come into the market, put their money in, the market's going to push down, touch this weekly area of demand, and then potentially just take them all back out again, because it's going to fuel all the buy orders, if there are buy orders sitting around here, right? But if there isn't, then it could just potentially just push to the downside. And I suppose people are thinking right now that this market's going up, right? So nonetheless, there's retail traders in here. There's traders in here thinking that the market's going to go up. Maybe this is just a simple retracement. So they're holding right now, right? Probably even putting in more buy orders, but they're holding right now. And if they're holding right now, then they're hoping that the market's going to push to the upside. But then if it starts to push to the downside, it's then going to get too painful. They're going to start closing their flipping buy orders. And then when they start closing their buy orders, we're going to get big long range candles to the downside. That's an assumption that I have, but currently, it's still up in the air. What I do like on the monthly though is that we have all white candles here that could potentially come down, and we have a fresh area of monthly demand which has been created out of this monthly demand. But I'm not too sure about monthlies I'm not too sure about zones necessarily being created out of zones, but nonetheless, I'm really not comfortable with the same zone being created out of the same zone. So a daily zone creating another daily zone. I always think that daily zone that's been created out of that zone could be potentially weaker, especially if it's inside the zone itself. Not sure, guys. Not sure about that at all. But anyway, that is the pound yen and the euro USD, guys. Currently looking good. And if we look to my right, I have chopped a few markets off. Guys, I am thinking of going back to 2 or even 1 markets, and I have actually been looking at a few crypto products as well, guys. So I will let you know how that develops, okay? But I'm thinking about taking this down to 201. I mean, currently, because I found myself quite distracted recently in terms of going back and forth from markets. And I'm just thinking, if I go back down to, the reason why I made so much money towards the end of last year is because I literally just focused on oil, right? I literally just focused on oil, and that made me I think it was over 4,000 pips, which was ridiculous. And I didn't really pay attention to anything else. Yes, oil was moving, but oil was still moving now. It's still doing ridiculous things, but I just paid attention to that thing. So I was seeing all the nuances, all the shifts, all the change, all the emotions, and how those emotions are driving the markets. And, it was fun. So I'm thinking about, I think I'm whittling down the markets that I'm going to trade. I mean, you may see probably 2 or 1 within the next few months in terms of the products that I'm going to be focusing on in this particular focus group. Anyway, I hope you have an amazing weekend, guys. Video coming up for you again on Tuesday, so look out for that. Take care.